Hello to all my dear students. Today we are going to start with the new chapter, that is strategies in food production and enhancement. Now beta, before I start this chapter, let me tell you a small thing about it, that this chapter is basically divided into two segments: animal husbandry and plant breeding. Animal husbandry portion you complete in zoology, whereas plant breeding portion we complete in botany. So today we are going to start this chapter from the second half, that is plant breeding. Okay, now what do you understand by the term plant breeding basically? What do you mean by this term plant breeding? Plant means plant, breeding means to grow, correct? Now, see, growing plant means growing crop. The main aim of growing crop is to fulfill the demands of the people with respect to food. Okay. Now, farmers are growing crops, they are providing food to the people. But with time, it is being observed that the amount of food requirement is increasing day by day due to increasing in the number of population. Today, world is facing the biggest trouble of population explosion. As a result, the demand of food is increasing. If farmers will practice their old method, their old traditional methods of farming, using simply sickle in the field and bullock carts on the field, then automatically the amount of production will be very, very less. If farmers are only dependent upon the environmental conditions for rainfall, for sunlight, then automatically the production will be very, very less as compared to the demand. So with time, the concept of farming has been changed from traditional to conventional. Now, instead of only depending upon the manual methods of farming, we are switching to mechanical method of farming. Machines like tractors on the field are used instead of bullock carts. Simply depending upon water for rain for water, now people are using they're making artificial water storage in their fields, so that even if it does not rain, then too they can provide water. So little bit we are shifting from traditional farming towards conventional farming method. The only simple reason is that the amount of food is, the demand for the more amount of food is increasing due to population explosion. Plus one more problem is associated with it, because more number of people are, or there is population explosion. Now due to this excessive population explosion, people are even making their home on the agricultural field. Now obviously land on the earth is limited. If more people will come out, they will just cut down the forest and they will make their homes, they will reduce the agricultural field and they will make their home. As a result, the land on which farmers used to work has also reduced, as the part of the land is now occupied by the people for their living purpose. Now, people are increasing, demand of food is increasing, and land for cultivation is reducing. So again, if this remains the scenario, and if we do not change our method of farming and simply reducing the land, then automatically people will start dying due to hunger. So therefore, government and more scientists, they have decided to change the mode of farming. See, we cannot control the population. Nobody is following the norms, that one couple, one child kind of norm. Nobody's following. Population is exploding year after year. Now latest some news came in that world population has reached to some like 6 or 7 billion. I don't exactly remember the number right now, but recent, I think 2 to 3 days back only, one news came in that we have reached to the zenith of the population. The world population has reached to its zenith, which is maximum 5 to 6 billion. Now so many people, land is limited on earth, and now those people need land for living also, those people need land for industrialization also, and those people need land for agriculture also. So automatically People are building new homes, new factories, new industries. So kahin na kahin the agricultural land is getting compromised. People are taking the part of agricultural land for their industries and for their homes, because of which automatically it is going to hamper the food production. Less food, automatically people will start dying due to hunger. So scientists have thought that why not to just develop a mid pathway, just why not to develop a solution to it by changing the traditional farming to some new methods of farming. That is called as plant breeding. So this paragraph I have taken from NCERT. Let's read this paragraph and try to understand what is written in it. So traditional farming can only yield a limited food. If you are simply using bullock cart and simply dependent on rain for water, then automatically limited biomass, limited food will be generated that will not be sufficient for feeding the people as food for humans and animals. However, this amount of food produced will not be sufficient. So, better management practices and increase in acreage can only increase the yield, but again to a limited extent. If you don't use any new techniques and you simply increase your management skills and try to increase per acre production, okay, production will slightly increase, but not to the mark. Therefore, plant breeding is a technology that helps to increase yield at a larger extent. Plant breeding means developing new varieties of plant that have some good qualities in them and then growing them on the field for more production. Correct? Who in India has not heard of Green Revolution? We all are familiar with this concept of Green Revolution. Yes or no? Are you familiar? Yes. What was Green Revolution? Green Revolution was the only, or was introduced in India with the aim of increasing the production of wheat and rice so that increasing population can be easily fed. Right? And Green Revolution was the result of developing new hybrid varieties with the concept of plant breeding, conventional plant breeding, that is hybridization. So now we are going to simply study about high yielding, that how these high yielding and disease resistant varieties are developed by the method of conventional plant breeding. Chalo. So for this, now we are going to see the steps of plant breeding. This is conventional plant breeding, that is also known as hybridization. So basically now we are going to study about hybridization. Right? Now what is this hybridization? Hybridization simply means beta joining the good qualities of the parent in order to produce a new offspring that is having both the good quality of the parent. See, what happens? Scientists believe that there are so many varieties of the species. Suppose there is one plant species. It is having so many varieties. Some variety is having good yield. Some variety of the same species having good resistance towards disease. Some variety of the same species have good water stress tolerance. But is alone disease resistant property sufficient? Is alone high yield property is sufficient? Is alone water stress tolerant property is sufficient? No doubt these all are good property, but alone they are of no use. For example, I am having a seed which is resistant towards disease, but its production power, its yielding power is less. Now suppose if that seed I plant in the soil and try to grow, then okay, that crop will be free of any disease, that crop will grow healthy, but will it be sufficient to feed my public? Will it be sufficient to fulfill the demand of the people? No. So again, that is not good. Second type of variety of the same species is having high yield. So production was tremendous, but they were not disease resistant. Some fungus came, attacked, and whole high yield crop got wasted. Again, it is of no use. So these both good qualities alone, they are of no use. So scientists thought that why not to join both the good quality, that is disease resistance, and high yielding power of two wild variety and create a new hybrid variety having both the good quality. So now yield will be also maximum, and whatever production will be there, they will be free from the disease also. So all that high production will be given to the public and the demand will also be fulfilled. This was the main aim of this technique called hybridization or conventional plant breeding. So the first step is development of germplasm or collection of variability. The first step is collection of variability. Variability means what? Suppose I am having X plant species. So first of all, I need to collect all those varieties of the species, all the genes and all their alleles. I need to create a germplasm so that whenever required, I can simply go to that bank and collect my required genes, collect my required plant variety of a specific species. So a collection of all the wild varieties of a species, their genes and alleles, and make a collection, make a germplasm, so that if any scientist wants to perform any hybridization experiment on any species, then all the varieties are very well exposed to them. So the first step is collection of all the wild varieties. Collection of all the wild varieties of a species, including their genes and their alleles. And all alleles of the gene. This is known as germplasm. So germplasm is ready, right? Now second step is selection of the parent for hybridization. Selection of the wild parent for hybridization. Now what is this? I have a germplasm. I have all the good qualities of their varieties of a specific species. Now suppose one variety is having high yield property but not disease resistant. So as I told you, alone that property is of no use. Another wild variety of the same species is having disease resistance but not high yield. Again, it is of no use to the farmer. So what scientists will do? They will pick both the varieties of the species and will perform cross fertilization, cross pollination, hybridization in order to develop offspring having both the good quality of the parent. So second step is selection of the parent as per the requirement, as per the need, wild varieties are selected from the germplasm. Wild varieties are selected from the germplasm. Now suppose the two varieties, the two parent which I selected are one with high yield, which I am considering as male, right? This I am considering as male, whose pollen grain I am going to use for my cross fertilization. And second, I am considering one more variety I am taking which is having a good quality of disease resistance. Correct? And this I am considering as female, whose carpel I am going to use for my purpose. So parent I have selected having 2 good qualities but alone. So they have no use. Third step, which is very tedious and time consuming step, is performing cross pollination. So third step is performing cross pollination. It is a tedious and a time consuming. Tedious means very hard working step. How hard working? Because you have to ensure that correct pollen grain of the desired variety lands on the correct stigma of the desired quality. No contamination should take place while performing this third step. So it becomes very hard step, and very scientist has to be very concentrated. Right? Little bit error, your whole experiment will go in waste. Little bit contamination, whole experiment will become of no use. So next step is, it is a tedious and a time consuming step where desired pollen grain, desired here, now this is the desired pollen grain and this is the desired stigma. So these pollen grains should only land on the required stigma. We have to make sure that no other pollen grain should come and land on the stigma. So we have to be very cautious. Time consuming step where desired pollen grain are made to land on desired stigma. Right? Without any contamination. Contamination should not take place. Without any contamination. So this is the third important step. Next step is, now once fertilization is completed, once cross fertilization, cross pollination is done, desired pollen grain has landed on desired stigma. Now that those pollen grain will develop, they will form the pollen tube, will carry the 2 male gametes, syngamy, triple fusion, overall double fertilization will take place. Then from the ovule, seed will develop. From the ovary, fruit will develop. Now you are having hundreds of seed. Now automatically all those hundreds of seed will not be having both the good qualities of the parent. Yes or no? You know the double dihybrid cross and monohybrid cross. You already know that what is the pattern of gene inheritance. All the recombinant, all the seeds obtained are not guaranteed to have both the good qualities of the parent. So next and very crucial step is to select those recombinant from all the offspring which are having both the good quality of the parent. It is a very crucial step. Why? Because if you choose the wrong seed, if you choose the wrong offspring which is having either of the good quality, then your whole experiment again will be of no use. So this step becomes very crucial step, that is selection of the recombinant. Such recombinant which is having both the good qualities of the parent, which is having both the good quality of parent. So selection of the recombinant having both the good qualities of the parent from the total offspring produced. From the total offspring produced. Correct? Understood so far? Now it is a very crucial step. If this goes wrong, then automatically whatever you have done previously will again be of no use. Now, once you have selected the right recombinant having both the good qualities of the parent, you have to test them, and then finally when you are 100% guaranteed, you will release them as hybrid of the specific species in the market. Farmer will buy them and will use them and will get an opportunity to grow crop in abundant amount, and those crops will be disease resistant. So next step is testing of the recombinant. And how do you test? The same is made to grow, the same recombinant seeds are made to grow for 3 generations. For 3 generations, if they are getting the same result, that means you have selected the right recombinant. Testing of the recombinant or hybrid for 3 consecutive generations. If everything remains good, and then finally releasing them in the market as hybrid variety. As hybrid variety, having both the good qualities of the parent. So now these farmers will buy these hybrid varieties and will enjoy good yield as well as disease resistance. So many hybrid variety have been made for wheat, rice, maize, millets, etc. Right? So this is all about the steps of conventional plant breeding, which is called as hybridization, to increase the yield, to fulfill the demand of the people. In India, this concept of hybridization was introduced by Dr. M.S. Swaminathan, whereas at world level it was introduced by Dr. Norman Borlaug. He was the first scientist to develop semi-dwarf hybrid varieties, high-yielding and disease-resistant varieties of wheat and rice. Later on, they were introduced in India, and after that, after farmers, they used the hybrid varieties of wheat and maize. Production of these crops, they increased tremendously, and yes, we all were able to fulfill the demand of the food by the people. Correct? Yes or no? Chalo. Okay, so this is about the steps of hybridization. Now some theoretical things you have to do, beta. Now you know India got independence in the year during 1947, right? At that time, population was exploding. See, when India got independence, people were very happy and they were enjoying and they were increasing the Indian population. But population was exceeding. However, there were no technologies in India to manage that growing population. There were no good technique used in farming to increase the production of the crop so that the demand by the people can be fulfilled. Later on, with the help of this concept of Green Revolution, it was a great relief for India that the production of wheat and rice tremendously increased, and yes, people got survival, right? Now, in mid-1960s, one more point is written in NCERT that India's 33% of total GDP, you know, we are agricultural country. We are not industrial country. Our major GDP, our major source of income is agriculture only. Our 62% of the population is involved in agriculture, directly or indirectly. So 30% of total GDP of India is through agriculture, involving 62% of the total population, which is hell lot. Involving 62% of the total population, right? Next important point, beta. During mid-1960s, concept of Green Revolution was introduced. Concept of Green Revolution was introduced in India by Swaminathan. across the world by Norman Borlaug. Now, with the help of this hybridization technique, the production of wheat and rice got tremendously increased from 1960 to 2000. In between this time, wheat production increased from 11 million to near about, I'm not remembering the data right now, 75 million. And similarly for rice also, production got increased in millions. So right now I'm just erasing this data as I'm not remembering it. But yes, you can just check it from NCERT, nothing much. So wheat and rice production from 1960s to 2000, it got tremendously increased with the help of semi-dwarf hybrid varieties developed by Norman Borlaug. Norman Borlaug beta developed the wheat variety, semi-dwarf wheat variety at Mexico Center. मेक्सिको सेंटर में नॉर्मन बर्लॉग ने wheat की hybrid varieties develop करी. And then later on, those hybrid varieties with the name of Kalyan Sona and Sonalika were introduced in the northern belt of our country. Later on, more semi-dwarf varieties of rice were also developed with the name of IR8 and Taichung Native 1. Later on, two hybrid varieties of rice, Jaya and Ratna, were introduced again in India that again helped in increasing the production. All this data, whatever I have said, IR8, Taichung Native 1, wheat variety, Kalyan Sona, whatever names I have taken right now, you all have to do from your NCERT. I'm not writing it over here as you all have your book. Same thing I have said. So no point of writing. You all are smart enough to read it from there. Apart from developing hybrid varieties for wheat and rice between 1960s to 2000, some new hybrid varieties for millets were also developed. And these were basically resistance towards water stress. High yielding variety of wheat and rice, they were disease resistance as well as high yielding. But for millets, such hybrid varieties were produced which were resistant towards water. Why? Because millets are usually grown in places where water availability is poor. Right? So millets, only one point you have to remember, hybrids developed were resistant to water stress. Right? Similarly, some sugarcane varieties were also introduced, sugarcane hybrid varieties. Now, there were two varieties of sugarcane. One was Saccharum officinarum and second was Saccharum barberi. Now, what was the trouble? Saccharum barberi beta, it was poor in sugar content but could grow well in North India. It was poor in sugar content but could grow well in northern part of our country. On the other hand, the another variety of sugarcane was officinarum. This was having high yield, high sugar content, thick stem, solid stem, but could not grow in North India. It grows well in South India. So could not grow in North India. It was just growing in South India. Now farmers of North India wanted to grow sugarcane of good quality. So they wanted officinarum to grow in their belt. But officinarum failed to grow in North India because the environmental conditions were different, and this officinarum could not survive in the conditions provided by North India. So therefore, scientists, they crossed both the varieties and obtain a hybrid variety of sugarcane which was not only able to grow in North India but was also having good thick solid stem that resulted in high sugar content. So Officinarum trouble was it was only restricted in South India. Barbary trouble was it could not produce high sugar content but could grow well in North India. So both the good qualities of individual varieties were mixed to obtain the hybrid. Now this hybrid can grow in any part of the country, north or south, producing high and maximum amount of sugar. So now this hybrid is now used in North India also as well as in South India to grow good quality sugar yielding sugar cane. Have you all understood till here that what is hybridization? It is one of the conventional method of plant breeding which was introduced in order to fulfill the demand of food developed by increasing population. Since traditional farming was not sufficient enough to fulfill the demand, hence scientist people had to switch, and they switched to this concept of hybridization, where already existing wild varieties, they were taken from the germplasm, they were made to cross, and hybrids were obtained having both the good quality of the parent, maybe high yield, disease resistance, water stress tolerant, etc. I hope you all have understood till here. So for today we are going to keep till here only. Some questions are there for you to solve. Who is known as the father of Green Revolution? It is with respect to international. Swaminathan is the father of Indian Green Revolution, but Norman Borlaug is the father of world level. He is the world level father of Green Revolution. So hope you have understood and enjoyed the today's simple, sweet and good lecture. If yes, then do not forget to mention in the comment section. So till then, thank you for watching me. Bye bye everyone. Take care.